So to me, like you said in your response, it was a better lesson. I think my biggest issue right now is just consistency. I'm sorry, I had everything up on my other computer, and now I'm on my girlfriend's computer. It was consistency was my biggest issue. I think it wasn't the lesson I wanted to show you, but I got stuck with time constraints, so that kind of sucked. But other than that, overall, I felt it was a good lesson. What do you think?
I think it was an amazing lesson. I
Yeah.
feel like you are definitely growing. I I saw the rushing in the beginning, but then I can see you kind of like slowing down and really kind of pacing yourself and taking your time. And I saw the kids adjust to that, right? So when you went from like, no, like sit right down, put your hands like this, and kind of like telling them what to do, and then trying to skip fast and keep going, it didn't give them a chance to actually do what you asked them to do. But then as you kind of throughout the lesson said, okay, let me kind of give them wait time to do it.
Yeah.
They literally got there fast. And I was like, oh my gosh, look at that.
Yeah, when they understand, because obviously it's not their native language, so it takes them a little bit to understand sometimes. But no, yeah, I was rushing things because I was worried about time.
So time is time, right?
Yeah,
When
no joke.
it's fun when we need it, and it's horrible when it's there. Like it's just something that all teachers fight with. I was just having a conversation with one of my colleagues now about pacing, right? And he's like, we don't have enough time to get everything done. And I just feel as though like when you do something with fidelity, knowing that, hey, it may have took 15 minutes for them to understand it, but you know that that is a solid foundation that they understand, rather than 15 minutes of just skimming over, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
4 or 5 different things. So it's kind of a catch-22. It just really is more about what is it important for you in that particular lesson. Is the lesson important for them to really hone in on vocabulary, so that be the foundation for sentence structure? Or is it really about reading fluency, for them to be able to then have a dialogue, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's really about picking what is the most important out of my lesson, what skill am I really trying to give them, and maybe that's where the time is really spent. And then looking at the entire unit and saying, okay, if I spent like a long time on this, where can I make that time difference up? You know what I mean? In
that's
other
what.
places.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's where my entire thing falls apart because, like I said, we don't have units here. That's where it all kind of hits. Basically, we're required to finish the book. After that, they don't care. So my biggest emphasis, I suppose, is because they get reading in all of their classes. It's something that's continuously hit on. So if they read through the book, I'm happy about it, but it's not my biggest concern. My biggest concern is mainly the vocabulary because that's a lot of their introduced vocabulary each time. And I think a lot of the rushing was just because I felt, because we do this every single day, I felt that, oh, hey, we can just jump right into this and it'll be a good day and we'll have it all perfect in the very beginning, and that wasn't what the case at all. It was just they needed to be brought into it, and I didn't give them adequate time to do that.
Yeah. Routines are very important for this age group.
Oh,
so,
huge.
However you bring them into a lesson should be the same way you bring them into all their lessons. So that way that it is structured and you won't have to.
Sorry. What is that?
So I'm at school.
I figured the entire leaves. I didn't think those were in your bedroom.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I love it.
Classroom. Yeah, so that was the all call. So yeah. No worries. But yeah, so it's just, you know what I mean? Like it's really just trying to figure out, because you have no units, and maybe it's more research, maybe it's more the heavy lifting and looking up units that are already out there and just kind of seeing where does the end kind of take you, because it's kind of difficult to put them on this journey and not know where their destination is going to lead them to, you know?
Yeah. Well, we have an idea. Well, that's the best part. We know exactly where they're going. It's just there's
Uh-huh.
no one way to focus it because all of my students, no matter what, have to take the exact same test. There's actually it's the TOEFL. It's the exam that they're all basically studying their entire lives for. So
Mhm.
the problem is just the way Korean culture has worked. There are so many different programs just to develop it, and no one's bothered to develop a really set curriculum. It's a weird Korean mentality, which I'll tell you more about when we have more time. But the short version is, yeah, no, I wish they had units. It would make more sense.
Yeah, yeah. How did you feel about the use of technology piece?
Um, I covered this briefly in my reflection. They actually have tablets that I could have brought in to the
Mhm.
classroom. They could have used them, and it could have actually helped complete the lesson. The problem is this. I was worried, and the problem is I've tried this before, and the exact same problem has happened. They'll use those as more of a distraction piece than a boon in the classroom. So I was preferring to stick to the smartboard. One thing that I have done in the past that we've kind of been getting away from is that I used to integrate the smartboard more in the classroom time. And they would come up, they would touch everything, they would make it work. But unfortunately, for time perspective, it made more sense just to have them sit in their chairs and just listen and talk to each other
Mhm.
rather than come up to the board and push a few buttons.
Allow yourself to be okay to make bad decisions.
Okay.
Does that make
That
sense?
that's tough.
I know,
You're asking
but
some hard stuff.
I
Oh.
know, I know. But with failure comes success, right?
Yeah.
And mistakes are open opportunities for learning. I completely understand the distraction piece, right? And I think I said this in your evaluation. I mean, kids and technology, huge distractions. I mean,
Mm,
they're gonna get on their whatever and go to YouTube and do whatever they want to do, right?
yeah.
However, it's about identifying maybe that one leader because when you're thinking about the rubric, how can I maybe choose Amelia or Audie, somebody who I know is going to be responsible, who
Hmm.
can just literally come up to the board and say, hey, can we do this word? Or as she's reading, maybe she's underlining that word. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
so that way you are modeling for the kids the behavior that you're looking for when it comes to technology.
Hmm.
You are also taking the heavy lifting off of you and allowing the student to be more like the co-facilitator or the co-teacher
Ooh.
type of thing.
Yeah.
It could just be like a small little bit that you do. And I'm not talking about like Amelia the whole time up there with you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Whatever portion of your lesson. The other piece that I think I mentioned about technology is in the last one you did stations, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, maybe there was one group in this one who seemed to be working really nicely. It kind of freed you up to walk around. I was super excited about that.
Yeah.
Um, what if there was one group that was able to deal with one tablet? You know what I mean? Maybe there's one tablet there, and maybe
Hmm.
that's what they're using to approach the information. Lori, you are doing an amazing job. Like I see the growth. Like I had to go back to your other evaluations,
Hmm.
and I was just like, wow, like he got more. Like you got more than 1 3 this time. Like that is amazing. I thought you had 3 3s, but then I had to go back in the rubric, and I was like,
Oh.
right? I was like,
Oh.
oh,
Don't tell me
right?
that.
I know.
Oh.
Listen, I have to be honest. I have to
Yeah.
be honest.
Fair
So
enough.
just looking at the rubric and just
Hmm.
really trying to think like, how can I tackle this? Is sometimes it's not about all of the kids. Maybe sometimes it's about one or two of the kids. You know.
Okay. Just
Um,
demonstrating that we're doing it.
Absolutely. You did an amazing job with specific praise. I was very proud of you. And I don't know if you realized the difference in the kids when they did when that
Yes.
happened. Like what was one takeaway when you gave specific praise?
See, I've actually been taking it and using it in all of my classes, not just the one. Um,
Good.
it has been really motivating for the students because they, instead of me pointing out their flaws and saying you're doing this wrong, it's more of, oh, hey, this person's doing this right. So their demeanor has been changing.
Good. What about
constantly.
Eric?
Um,
What about
Eric, actually, yeah, okay, so I'm gonna actually have to talk to you again. I decided to change the student for the case study because I realized all of my students, like Eric, he has some minor issues, but overall, he's really not that bad of a kid. When I found out there is another student in our class, or not my class, but Maria's class, co-teacher, I teach him weekly, who is having some severe issues comparatively, and it's like it's night and day. It made a lot more sense to go back to him, but I still have to talk to her and get the details on him. But I think he'd be much better case study.
okay, good. Good.